What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Cartoon Season. I'm Tyler, and this is a show all about animation, cartoons, anime. Could be movies, TV. Probably that's it. Except there was that one. What was it? It was what was the music video? The anime music video that there was a lot of controversy over. I think it was like a decade ago, but it was like it wasn't getting recognized as an anime because it was a music video, but it was I think it was animated by like A1 or like Keone or something like that, and it was like, this is ridiculous. Anyway, yeah, that was a tangent. So today's gonna be a good episode because we are starting off very first one with the Teen Titans. Okay, was like early mid 2000s Cartoon Network show, the one that has now become there's now a spin-off, Teen Titans Go. People, not very keen on that, but they do. I mean, it's mostly because of how well regarded the original show was, and there's lots to talk about with that. Mostly today it's going to be about the Raven, Slade, and Terra, that kind of trifecta that they play with pretty much throughout the entire show. Terra gets introduced a little later, though. I don't think she gets introduced until the second season, probably. Well, there's 5 seasons. I think it's probably the second season. And how amazing that is. Not only their original stories, but also how they do such a good job mixing all 3 of them together, and the way all 3 of their stories end, or I guess kind of end. I mean, we'll get to that later where none of their stories really end, but how a couple of their stories definitely have an ending, and it's to do with like each other. And then later on, I do want to talk about a season 6, because the show obviously only had 5 seasons, and it ended in a spot. Very last episode, I would say, ended in a spot that people were upset about because there was no more after that. It was like probably one of the biggest cliffhangers and one of the biggest unanswered cliffhangers in, I would say, like, cartoon history. But we'll talk about that and what that would mean for a possible season 6 that they're probably never going to do, but we can still dream about it. But before I do really get into it, do make sure to go to the Tiger T YouTube channel. That's where you can find more of this and other stuff, as well as other podcast services. Just go to Tiger T or Cartoon Season, either will work, and we'll have a good time. So we're going to start off with the Raven, Slade, and Terra. They don't get introduced at the same time, obviously, but they quickly become intertwined with each other to where it really is in my opinion, the 3 best stories in the whole show. Everyone, I would say except for Starfire, probably gets their own little like cutaway, their growth and everything. Starfire doesn't really. I mean, she gets like the wedding episode, but that will also be explained later in the season 6 portion, because there are some theories about why Starfire was misused. But we will start off, and I figured the best way to do this is to go chronologically throughout all the main points of these 3 characters' stories and show you how they start and how by themselves they're fantastic. But when they start getting in with each other, it's where it's like the best of the show. Like this is why I guess Terra isn't really a part of it, but I like the season 4 finale more than I like the season 5 finale of the show. But we do start off with Raven, obviously, main Teen Titan, and the first big thing we see of her is that she faces Trigon in her little mirror world. You remember Cyborg and Beast Boy, they go in her room when they're not supposed to, and they go into a mirror. They're not really sure what's happening. It's basically like her mind, her thoughts are in that mirror, and that's how, I don't think we ever see it again. I don't think we ever see it utilized again. It is utilized as kind of a fun way in Teen Titans Go, but that's a different show. And the big one is that like anger and revenge, whatever you want to call it. It's red, obviously, the red version of herself manifests into Trigon, where the other ones don't really manifest into something different. It's just her, just like a blue version of her or a gray version of her. It's a pretty cool episode, but the big thing that you may not realize, especially if you're not a Teen Titans fan at the time, is that who that really is. That's Trigon, that's her father. He like goes around and he reminds me of Colossus, right? That's his name? No. Right, is it? Am I mixing up? No, because now I'm mixing up Colossus from X-Men. But isn't Colossus the DC? No, Colossus is also Marvel. Is his name also Colossus? I'm thinking of the dude that eats planets. Is that also Colossus? I don't even know. It's not important, but I'm thinking of him because he eats planets. That's kind of what Trigon does. He goes over planet to planet. Maybe more of like a Thanos type, because Trigon doesn't really eat them. He just kind of takes them over. Kind of sort of what Thanos does. And again, it's not really anything at the time in the episode. You just see him as like a big bad. You see it as as her manifestation of anger, and then kind of later on we realize, I don't know if even in that episode she says it. I think it's later on, when like the curse starts happening. I think that's when she reveals that she is Trigon's daughter. I don't think it happens in this episode, but we do fight him. It's not really him, so we they're able to take care of him pretty quickly, kind of throw him off the edge or whatever. They leave the world. It's all cool, but the main point of that is that is the first time we see Trigon, and he obviously comes back season 4. We'll talk about that, but it's really cool for them to introduce that. And like at the time, again, I didn't know anything about Teen Titans, DC, anything like that when I first watched this, probably 15 years ago when it first came out. But it is cool that they snuck that in there, and it's like, hey, this is a real dude that's gonna come back. We're gonna remember him, and we're gonna realize why he represented her anger and her like resentment. But that was really cool, and also it was a nice bonding moment to see us learn more about Raven, but then also Beast Boy and Cyborg, kind of more of the fun, jovial characters, in the show. Kind of bond with Raven, see a little bit more of her side, learn a bit more of her. That was nice. But then we move on to the next big part is Slade, and I think where I'm gonna start is with Red X. I think we see Slade before that. I think it's when he's fighting. I think it's one of the first episodes when we see him, but it's not really him. It's like a robot version. His face comes off, and Raven says like, "Who is Slade?" And then we see that pop up a million times to end the show in like Slade's little this like factory layer or whatever. But the first one that's important to me is Red X. Red X, great character. Love that episode where Robin has to turn on his friends, but that just, again, it starts, and again, every character has a great story. Robin's included with his rivalry with Slade. We'll touch on that, obviously, because that is a huge part of Slade's story, but it's really cool to see how Slade immediately asserts like his dominance as the main bad guy of the show, where everyone else gets an episode. Titans are able to defeat pretty much anyone else fairly quickly. No one really has a two-parter. No one really gets away, but except for Slade. Slade always felt like he was, I was gonna say a puppet master, but we literally have a puppet master villain in this show. So he more so just kind of playing chess the whole time, where Robin and the rest of the team, but Robin more so, is trying to get a lot closer to him, and he's desperate enough to make a move like this to, again, that just shows how bad and powerful Slade is, that he's able to turn the leader of their group to, again, he's like a double agent, a triple agent, that kind of thing. Robin never actually turns on his team, not yet anyway, but he's able to turn him to at least put on this facade of being Red X, of taking the stuff, of not killing any of his friends, but to defeat them, which is something that you would never really want to see a team have to go through, especially with the leader being the one who turns. If you're I just thought of I don't know if anyone out there has seen Fast and Furious. Okay, Fast and Furious, very fun movies. Not very good, I would say, but they're fun. You know, I would say they've kind of gotten more bland over time. But Fast and Furious 8. Spoilers for Fast and Furious 8. Vin, the main dude, the leader of the whole thing, especially now that Brian's not there, he gets turned. And I think it was because he gets turned against the team, his family, that kind of thing. And I think it was because, was that the one with the kid? When he finds out he has a kid? I think that's why he's turned on them. But anyway, that's what it reminded me of. But yeah, so Robin becomes a Red X. He tries to get closer to Slade. He kind of does, kind of not. But this is also, again, it shows a lot of Robin, but I think it accentuates Slade even more, because Slade has broken Robin, not only to turn on his team, again, put on a facade that he's turning on his team, but this is when he really gets in his head, and this is the first that you see that Robin is obsessed with Slade, unlike any other villain. And again, that just shows his power, that shows his mind games. He's playing chess, like I said earlier, where he, like, that's that's like the best thing you can do, like the next best thing from, I guess, killing all of the good guys would be to get in their head so much that you make them crazy. And we'll see more of that a little later, but that is the first big thing for me with Slade, is that introduction is just I don't know, iconic at that point to bring out that character, because then we go a little later, and it's pretty much it's not really directly connected to this, but more Slade. This is when Robin has to turn on his friends again, but this time, like, fully turn on them, where Slade forces him to become his apprentice, because Slade pulls a little switcheroo on them. Instead of a bomb that blows everything up, it was just a machine. Well, actually, the bomb was useless, because then all the Titans are like underground except for Robin, and then a gun pops out from a boat and just shoots all 4 Titans, except for Robin, and it's like, nothing happened. But they're actually like infected with like robot nano stuff that can kill them at any second. So again, showing the chess where it's like a magic trick. We have sleight of hand. We make someone look this way, and you're actually doing something over here. That's what he did. He made them think there was bombs everywhere and the sewer is gonna blow up the city, whatever. And it was actually, he just wanted all the Titans down there to shoot them with a death ray, basically. And now he has control of Robin and all the Titans for all intents and purposes, because he knows how strong their bond is, especially with Robin, right? With the presumed relationship with Batman. Batman gets kind of hinted at a few times in this show. We know that it happens, especially with the episode later on where we show how they all meet, and Robin is like, I'm not a team anymore. I'm not, I don't work with anyone, because he used to work with Batman. That's kind of the nod there. But the big thing here, Slade, again, super dope. Is always one step ahead. He takes control of Robin and the rest of the team. It doesn't end well it doesn't end ideally for Slade. Robin, I guess he didn't plan on Robin's level of self-sacrifice to also put the nanobots in himself, but I still feel like Slade won that. I feel like Slade has won every encounter so far, where he just shows that he's not only more powerful than everyone else, he is smarter than everyone else, and that will come back around quite a few times in the future, because he's even involved in this next piece, where the main thing is Terra. This is where we finally see Terra. She comes up. It's a little scary because she can't control her powers. We also see Slade for like a split second. He's, so we know that he's been watching her as well. But with us focusing on Terra, we can see she can't control her powers, and that is, a nice little story there. We don't see much of her. It's pretty much just this one episode. She comes in, she wins everyone's hearts, especially Beast Boy, and she, with her past, with her basically destroying everything she touches, Slade is able to get in her head as well. Again, something he's been known to do. We're building this up with Slade at this point, and it kind of ruins Terra, it kind of ruins the relationship with everyone, and Terra leaves. So that's kind of where we see her. And I don't know if at this point what people thought about Terra, if she was going to come back. She obviously does, but I thought that was a very interesting character to have at least in that one episode, because it just showed everyone's friendship, and it really ruined Beast Boy. It finally gave him something to care about, rather than, because at this point Beast Boy is just kind of just like a dude. Like he's probably the most kid out of all these guys, and I like that it kind of had him, forced him to grow up. It forced him to really take charge over a few things. But again, that's just Terra's effect, and it kind of ends there. It does have the little piece of Slade where, again, showing that he's powerful, he's smart, but he's also everywhere. Like, he seems to know everything, even though he hasn't, killed the Titans or really, I guess, succeeded in anything huge at this point. It does feel like he has his hands everywhere. And then we move back to Raven. Just like a small thing here. It was like with Control Freak, there was that episode where Raven like created monsters, right? Turned out it was her fear was able to create real living monsters that attacked everyone in the tower. And I think that's a nice jump off point from the first part with Raven facing Trigon in her mirror world, because this is just, again, we're building on her character, like why was, like, let's get deeper into why the mirror exists. Let's get deeper into why she would need that, why she would have all that split up, all her emotions. Well, it's because of this. It's because there is some evil inside of her. I think this might be where she reveals it. I'm not sure. It could be like her reasoning, like, oh, this is probably why. Although, again, it might not be until her like birthday that whole thing happens. But I just love this because the whole episode was cool. It's a very scary one. I wouldn't be surprised if it was released around Halloween. I think that probably would make sense. But for us to see, like, because no one else really has that. Raven is the kind of dark horse of the group where she is kind of evil. She is kind of evil just in nature. She can't really stop that. She lives her whole life constantly suppressing that, and this is probably the first time that we've seen it explode out of her uncontrollably, and then that does come back around later. And then we get more Terra. Terra comes back. She can control her powers. It's all very suspicious. Raven doesn't trust her. We get that nice little butting of heads. Really the first time where we have the two of the people in this triangle interact. Obviously we had Terra and Slade, but that was real quick. Now we have Terra and Raven, Raven being the trusted member, but Terra, it's kind of like two sides of the same coin almost. But, Raven turns out to be right though, because Slade was working with Terra the whole time. Slade took Terra in because of how, it's really just because of how insecure she was. Everyone was willing to help her, but she still couldn't get a grip on her powers, who she was, who she wants to be. And Slade, man, again, Slade always comes back around with the mind games. And that's how he was able to convince Terra to be his apprentice, kind of new apprentice now, and go after the Titans. Because that's what happens right after that. I think the next episode, it's like a continuation, and they literally fight the Titans. And he's gotten so much in her head that she believes that she's right. She believes that the Titans are after her. They're out to get her. They don't trust her. They're here to take her down. And Slade has poisoned her mind. The very, I guess not the same way, but with similar attributes into how he was able to get Robin, but instead of attacking stuff outside of Robin, instead of attacking someone's external like he did with Robin, he's attacking her internal, because she doesn't really have any friends. I mean, the Titans are kind of her friends, or they were at least, but it's more so going after her own insecurities, where Robin doesn't really have those. And I know, like, every now and again we see him where he's like, oh, I don't know if that was the right thing, but he doesn't have them the same way that Terra does. And they're actually able to take out the Titans. You know, it's the first time we've ever seen them really lose. But of course, it's a superhero cartoon. Like, they come back, they're able to beat him. You know, because they come together, they're a team, they know what they want, and they've finally given up hope on Terra. You know, I think that was the whole thing, where they still wanted to be her friend. You know, there was still hope, at least even in our eyes, the viewer's eyes, of Terra might flip. You know, she might flip back. Maybe she is also a double agent. We've seen this already twice with the leader of the group. So maybe Terra is also doing that. It turns out she wasn't, but they're able to come back and get her. Slade doesn't really help too much. I think if Slade was there fighting alongside Terra, I'm not sure the Titans would actually be able to beat her. But then that's when it all breaks down, and you know, Terra realizes what she's done is wrong. She wants to make up for it, and she does it basically by ending her story in the show. She like causes a volcano in Slade's current lair, I guess. Titans get out, Slade melts, but so does Terra, because Terra has to stay there to make sure that keeps erupting or whatever, and you know, just to make sure that Slade doesn't get out somehow. And that was probably one of the saddest moments of the show so far, if not the saddest, because in that moment we saw reprieve. You know, we saw that Terra really realized she was wrong, and that she did have people that loved her, but she got clouded by her own fears, you know, her own insecurity. And when you have someone like Slade, who's very good at speaking, who's very convincing, you know, with his words, it's tough. You know, that's like the perfect matchup to, you know, to kind of plot something like this. And you know, it sucks, but then we move on to one of the more psychological things. Again, we're playing with the idea that Slade uses his mind more than his fists, right? And we have the crazy episode, one of the most memorable episodes in my mind. I think it's only one episode where Robin goes crazy, right? And this is, again, showing the effect that he has, because Slade is dead. Slade's gone. And this whole episode, we see that Slade has gotten into his mind. He has poisoned it again, but to probably the fullest extent, to where Robin keeps seeing Slade. He keeps fighting Slade. He actually feels Slade when he fights him, even though he's not there. He's a ghost. And you know, by the end of it, he's able to get past it with the help of Raven. This is a nice thing to touch on with Raven's character as well, where Raven and Robin now have a nice little connection. You know, it doesn't really mean much. You know, it kind of comes back around towards the end, but that's a nice thing to point out. And again, it builds up Slade's character. Even though he's gone, he is still the most lethal villain that's ever existed, aside from maybe Terra at the time. And then we get more Slade. We get even more Slade, and it actually comes back around sooner than I thought. Slade comes back, right? Slade's back, just proving he is the illest, you know, villain to ever step foot on the show. And he has weird symbols, and he can shoot fire from his hands. Crazy. But this is, again, the biggest moment between him and Raven now, where this is the whole thing where it starts with showing the prophecy, right, in Trigon, and you know, Raven's trying to escape from this. And you know, it even shows a little bit of the Robin and Raven relationship, where Raven unfreezes time to save Robin, and they start talking about it. You know, she explains what's happening, and they stop Slade. And I mean, they don't really stop Slade, but you know, because Slade kind of does what he has to do. He like delivers the message, right? That's the whole thing with him. But that opens up a lot of questions of, how is Slade back? Is that really Slade? You know, Slade's never had these powers before. At least he's never shown it with us, and it's weird that he wouldn't. What's going on with him? How is he connected to Trigon? Right? Has he always been connected to Trigon? And what does this mean for Raven? And this is the point in which Raven finally reveals that she's Trigon's daughter. Lots of points start being connected now, and now we're kind of in the end game of this season anyway. We know what's going to happen now. We go on. Slade comes after Raven again. This is kind of the final time to capture her, to fulfill the prophecy. And then the world ends. Like I said earlier, Trigon takes over the world. And that's pretty much the darkest the show ever gets. But we see Slade's character for the first time really get thrown under the bus, right? Where he bit off more than he can chew. He's not the biggest, he's not the baddest, and Trigon tosses him aside. And this is a huge moment for Slade's character, because up until this point he controlled everything, right? He was always playing chess, but then you have someone bigger than you that's playing chess with you. Like, he's now, Slade is now Trigon's pawn. Never happened before. And then all the Titans have to rise up against him. Slade even helps out. This is a big turn for the character. This is a pretty classic story, right? With when there's a bad guy, the bad guy has to turn to help with the good guys fight the even bigger, badder guy. If you ever read, Demonata, it's like a young adult book series, basically. Written by Darren Shan. That happens in that book series too. I won't spoil it. It's really, really good. It's like 10 books long or something. But that kind of happens too, where there is there's a demon who the main characters fight in like the first book, and it's tough and everything. But by the end of the series, there's even bigger ones. There's like creatures that demons can't even comprehend, basically, and all the lesser demons, including the one that they fought in the first book, has to help the good guys fight the big one, to be like, hey, well, we don't want to we don't want to die from the big dude. We don't want to listen to the big dude. So to kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So that's what kind of happens here. They fight him. Trigon is still too powerful, right? He's the Thanos, he's the Colossus, whatever. And while they're doing that, we get more Raven and Robin time, where Raven earlier was like sacrificed, and now there's like a young version of her that she's been stripped of her powers, right? Robin has to save her, and this is a big moment in the end, because we got Slade, we got the Titans, and we got Raven kind of finally, I guess technically she's already fulfilled the prophecy, but this is more her own prophecy, right? Of overthrowing her father, of breaking those shackles, those mental shackles. And for a second she becomes like White Raven, where she has all the white cloak and like the white eyes and everything. And that's a nice little almost conclusion to her saga, right? From at the very beginning, we see Trigon as this thing, we don't really know what he is, but we know that it's haunting her. And then to go all the way through this, her like Azarathian prophecy in the end, to overthrowing the dad, to overthrowing the one thing that was always getting to her, with the help of her friends, with the help of a unlikely hero, an unlikely friend as Slade. And that's also a big thing too, with Slade there. He isn't really there for the end of it. In the end, he goes against Trigon, goes against his minions or whatever, and gains his flesh and blood back, which is really weird, but it almost just still just adds to his character of he's gonna do what he's gotta do, and he always wins in the end. Again, you can look at what you consider a win, but he died. Like the Titans in Terra killed him. He came back with the help of Trigon, and even though Trigon threw him aside, he still was able to defeat Trigon. And then not only is he back with he's like alive or whatever, he's able to get his flesh and blood back. So now he's, it's like nothing ever happened. In the end, he died, but he still came back, and he still has everything he needs to continue. Like, we see more of him later on. And yeah, that should just shows that in the end, he was even bigger and badder than Trigon. In the moment, we didn't think so, but he won. He got literally everything back. And then, where all that is, right? Where we're looking at all we've been through the whole show, those 4 seasons. You know, the 5th season doesn't touch on too much with these 3 guys specifically. It does in the end, but we'll talk about that in a second, because we'll just kind of see where we've gone, right? Slade, so much has happened with Slade. We know his character. He's smart. He's powerful. He always wins. We saw Raven's whole thing end with her finally overthrowing, both on the physical, but also on the mental as well. And then even going back to Terra, right? She wasn't here for too long, but she grew so much, and she eventually sacrificed herself. The part that gets tricky, and this will also lead into the season 6 topic, but the part that always gets tricky is that at this point, all 3 of the stories are done, right? Terra presumably dead. Slade, not dead, but we don't know what's going on with him. We might pop up back again. He might just be a hermit. He might be like, you know what? I am cutting my losses. You know, I was able to come back from the grave and not only be this weird, fire demon, but I'm now a person again. So now let me just go and live in, move to Italy or something and just live the rest of my life. And Raven is that now has like a new lease on life almost. She now doesn't have that part of herself to hide, to feel ashamed of. She, with the help of her friends, have moved past it. So all 3 of their stories are pretty much done. But then we get this last episode where it doesn't touch too much on Raven. I'll be honest, Raven is pretty much done at this point. But the reason why it's not done for the other 2 is because we see Terra again, right? Beast Boy finds Terra. Pretty sure Terra looks just like her, talks just like her, acts just like her. She seems to have amnesia of some sort. She doesn't seem to have her power. She doesn't remember who any of the Titans are. It's a very sad moment for Beast Boy. He keeps trying to prove that, you know me, I know you, please come back, like live in the tower, be a Teen Titan. She doesn't know what he's talking about. Very sad. And the other part of it is that we do see a robot Slade, and I'm pretty sure the robot Slade finds and fights Beast Boy and Terra. He's a robot. Beast Boy beats him and rips off the thing, and it's a robot, whatever. But the 2 big things there are Terra's not dead, so we possibly have more story with her, and we just reconfirmed that Slade is not dead, and he seems to still be a villain. He has not shed that part of himself. And I think that pretty much moves us to the season 6 topic. Just to end it off, or just to end this section off, again, I think that these 3 character stories are amazing by themselves, with the complete dominance of Slade every single time. Like it's amazing to see him work and think and move all the pieces, and we see that time and time again. With Terra, it's nice to see a new Titan. We didn't really see that for a while. We saw a new character, and she's very light, but it's her mental that really brought her down and turned her evil. And then we have Raven, where she's always been shackled by who she really is, and for the whole friendship thing, it's very cliche, but for friendship to be the thing that brings her back. And I never changed the background. Oh man, I wonder if I can fix that in post. I probably can. Yeah, I probably can. That's what y'all were supposed to be seeing the whole time. But yeah, for like the whole friendship thing to bring her around, it's really good, and we see him with each other, right? Like Slade and Raven's characters were massively uplifted by their interaction with each other in the Trigon arc, right? We saw Raven and Terra's characters be uplifted when they were butting heads. I don't think Terra would have become the character she was if Slade didn't get meddled with it. So I think all 3 of them helped each other, and I really don't think there was a better 3 like triangle in this whole show. I think that we had a bunch of stuff with Robin, We had even stuff some with Cyborg, even Beast Boy. Beast Boy mostly in the last season. Not too much with Starfire, but I think that these three characters had the best stories in the whole show, and I think that they still would have been amazing without each other. Which I think just goes to show their strength. But the reason this does move into our season 6 discussion is because that last episode, what I think people don't realize when they remember the show is that so let's just say, I don't know if I'm remembering this right, but let's just say there was 13 episodes in the last season. Let's say this is, Teen Titans was always a 13 episodes, every season type show. I don't remember the exact number, but the exact number isn't important. 13 episodes in season 5, right? The entire season, it's all about, let's gather up all the good guys because we're literally about to face all the bad guys we've ever seen. It's a big head-to-head battle. It's really nice. It's a very almost clean way to wrap up a show like this, to just have all the good guys face all the bad guys. It's but they won in episode 12. Episode 12 they win, and all the bad guys are frozen, they're defeated. There's even a little joke where all the good guys are good and they're all in Titan's Tower, and it's very cramped. We're not sure if they're all gonna live there now. I don't know how many rooms Titan's Tower has. It's pretty big. And then the alarm goes off, and it's just Dr. Light, and every Titan, like the 35 Titans that are in that part of Teen Titans, go to fight Dr. Light. And it's very funny because that's overkill, especially for someone like Dr. Light, who is probably one of the least threatening villains in the show. But then we're like, well, there's one episode left. What is episode 13? That's the one where Beast Boy finds Terra, and the B plot of this episode sucks. Like, it's just the Titans facing this villain that can't die, but is not very interesting. I don't really know what the point of that plot is, but I guess it's just to get Beast Boy away from everything. I don't know. But that's the thing, is that the show wrapped up very nicely in episode 12 with everyone winning. It's good. They could have ended it there, but they didn't. They had one more episode to leave us with 2 cliffhangers. Terra's alive, and Slade seems to be, getting ready for something. He sent one of his robots at us. And I just don't think that's fair. I just don't think it's fair to set us up with something like that. And I know at that point, the writers, they knew there wasn't going to be a season 6. And that's the worst part of it, is that they did it. They could have just ended it. Again, I guess I don't really know. I didn't work there, so I don't really know what they were planning, but it's just unfortunate, But that is again, me going back to, people don't realize, them wanting a season 6, that was one episode. The show wrapped up nicely, and then they just had a little bonus episode at the end there to throw us some cliffhangers. But there are some interesting things about the theories, or the rumors. Again, I don't know how many of these were confirmed, but there were actually more rumors about season 6 than I remember. I remember in me getting ready for this episode, I went over some of them, and some of them were very interesting. I think most of them made sense. Let's go over some of the rumors for what a next season would be, because again, there's 5 seasons. That was it. Titans fans have been asking for a season 6 forever. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I would love it to. But here's some of the rumors for what we're going to do. Like I was saying earlier, apparently Starfire was going to be the main focus. And I think that tracks because, again, Cyborg has had many episodes where the whole robot thing and him being human, and then him with the Hive and the Brotherhood, he's had some nice little arcs. Robin with him versing Slade, and him, struggling with being a leader. We even had that solo episode with him. He's had some good stuff. We obviously just talked about Raven, all her stuff, and then Beast Boy pretty much had the entire 5th season. So it does make sense that they would make Starfire the last season. Because we only got the wedding episode, we got a couple episodes with her and Blackfire, but there really wasn't a whole lot. And again, with this, Blackfire was apparently going to be the main villain. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't remember if Blackfire died. I think she just got stuck on Tamaran. That's pretty much what happened with her. I don't know what that season would look like with her being the main focus. Like, I don't know what that means. If like, apparently, kind of a piece off of that is that there's gonna be a lot more space adventures, which makes more sense with the Starfire focus, with them being on other planets, them going to Tamaran, maybe them going to, there being some other like solo episodes of them going to other planets, but maybe there's tidbits in each one of those that build up to some kind of war, or something like that. I could see Blackfire taking over places, and then her trying to build an army or something. But there are some other rumors as well. There's a rumor that Terra would recover from her amnesia. I don't know what that would look like. I don't know if that would be just one day she remembers, or one day she starts moving rocks and she's like freaked out by it, but things start to come to her more and more. Maybe she gets attacked, maybe she gets captured, Teen Titans save her, that jogs something. I don't really know what that looks like, but I think that also makes sense, because us looking at the final episode of the 5th season, I don't believe they could tease Terra like that and then just be like, oh no, she's gone. That's the last time we see her, is the finale of season 5. I think that'd be crazy. There's another rumor that Slade would return. I think that that is almost a given, the same way I think Terra recovering from the amnesia is a given, because again, we see the robot in the season 5 finale. We know he didn't die, because he walked away from the Trigon conflict, so him not coming back I think would be weird. I wonder how that would, or if he'd interact at all with Terra, as well as Blackfire. I'm going to see what that would look like. Some other rumors, we got Robin will become Nightwing, which I think is really cool. That was teased in the time travel episode, where Starfire has to see the future of everything. We see Robin as Nightwing. That's cool. It'd be really nice to see how he becomes Nightwing. I'm sure we get a whole episode on that. Maybe that would, go hand in hand with Slade. That would make complete sense to me too, with their history and how Slade can push people. Kind of a mirror of that is apparently Raven will become White Raven. Again, we saw pieces of that in her finale, but her fully becoming White Raven would be nuts, of how powerful that would be. Again, her becoming White Raven, Robin becoming Nightwing, I think that makes sense with a final big space battle, with Starfire again being the main focus of the show, and then Blackfire being the main villain. I think it makes sense that they would all kind of have to step up and be their final form. Then we got some other stuff. There's rumors that a bunch of the Titans that we saw in season 5, because we literally saw every Titan in existence, that some of them would return. I think that's a given. I think it'd be weird for us to see all those Titans and then not have any of them return for the 6th and final season. Again, especially if we're going off of what my headcanon is, which is big final space battle between two armies. And then we got some romance rumors. We got Beast Boy and Raven. They'll finally get together. I think that's cool. I don't think that was really teased enough throughout the first 5 seasons. But I'm sure they could do it. I'm sure they could make it make sense. And obviously another given, though, would be the Robin and Starfire thing, which we saw throughout the entire show, and then by the end of the 5th season, it was confirmed. I think they confessed to each other. So them just getting deeper with that makes sense. And those are pretty much all the rumors I have. Again, I think most of those are a given. And then just with what the season would look like, again, I think it would be nice to still interact with a bunch of the Titans. We see Titans, I think it's Titans East or Titans West. The other ones, them build, maybe we see other Titan towers, other Titan hideouts. They don't all have to be teased, but we see some more of those. We see Terra recover from amnesia, hopefully become a part of the Titans again. Slade will have his hand in everything, and all the main Titans at least will go to their final form, then get ready for a big space battle. I think it'd be cool because there's also some rumors, I didn't write it down, but I remember there being some rumors that we would finally see more Batman stuff. Whether that means us actually seeing Batman, whether that means we actually see Bruce Wayne, maybe there'd be some villains or even a couple villains that are more Batman villains and less DC villains. I don't know that we'd see like Joker, but I don't know. If we see something like Mr. Freeze or something, I think that would be cool. Or the Riddler. But again, maybe that's more suited for their like Young Justice show, which I haven't seen. But yeah, I do think the show deserves a 6th season. I think it's crazy that there isn't one, especially since season 6 was meant to be the last season, or at least that's what we've heard, that they were just going for one last and final season. But I also think that while everything I just said would be really cool, or I think it'd be cool, I do think that the cliffhanger, which I mentioned before, I think is one of the biggest unanswered cliffhangers in cartoon history, I still think it's a little exaggerated. Because again, like, they didn't spend episodes setting up a final season. It was literally the show ended with a nice little bow on the second to last episode. And then they decided, hey, let's, for our last episode, because we do have another episode, let's just throw in a couple huge questions. Like that to me, it's almost selfish. Because we know there's no extra season, and it's just really unfortunate. Supposed to move to that image too. All right. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything. I am interested to see what y'all would think of a season 6. What rumors that I mentioned you agree with? What you think would be a nice 6th season? What it's missing, and as well as what you think of the Raven, Slade, and Terra triangle, because again, I think those are the 3 best individual stories in the show. And I think easily it's the best triangle as well. So it's the just the way they interact with each other. Like, no one else's stories, I would say, probably only, because like any of the Titans, like Starfire, again, doesn't get enough love. Like, her story isn't intertwined with any of the 3 that I mentioned: Raven, Slade, or Terra. Same with Cyborg. Beast Boy, kind of because of Terra, but not enough for it to be that strong. And then Robin, probably most with Slade, and even a little bit of Raven, but even then, it's still not enough for me, to like bump out any of the 3. But yeah. And I think that's it. I think the show was fantastic. I think that it does deserve another season. I think that at its strongest, it should be considered on the level of where people consider Avatar. Avatar is very well regarded, universally loved. I think at Teen Titans Best, it is on the same level. I think the only thing that hurts it is that there are, it is a superhero comic cartoon, so there are very many like bottle episodes or just single episodes that don't really add anything to the story. It's just cool, or it's just, there's a Teen Titans villain, so we're gonna have the Titans fight him. But at its best, when you get to stuff like the Brotherhood arc, or the Raven arc, or the Doom Patrol arc, I think that is at like story-driven cartoons best. Yeah. Let me know what you think of anything, really. Anything to do with Teen Titans. At some point, I will say I do want to watch Young Justice, which is basically like the spiritual successor to this show. I'm very interested to see where they go with that. But But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't know where to go. That's it. There will be more episodes. This will probably be the first one that comes out. Like I said, cartoons, anime, shows, movies, whatever it is. Let me know what you want me to cover. We're gonna do a little bit of everything. We're gonna have fun. So, like I said, that is it. And yeah, until next time, we're gonna have a good time watching and talking about some animated stuff.